Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson. Coach, glad to be back to the Roundtable.
Roundtable. I think this Roundtable's some good luck for us.
I think so too. You've won 3 straight now. You're on a roll. Defeated Cumberland Gap 40-21 after taking another long road trip this past Friday night. We'll jump right into it. Another great victory. Another week where we get to talk about a win and a lot of great statistics from a lot of great athletes. Talk about how happy you were after Friday night.
I was very relieved after Friday. We didn't start off very well. I kind of let the emotion of the game take over. We were very penalized, and they were all warranted. They were self-imposed. Too many. When you have penalties that are not in between the whistles, that tends to be a problem, and it was. We gifted them a whole lot of yardage. We went back and looked. We overall defensively, I've got our defense stats, and we played well defensively between the whistles, and we had 6 personal fouls. Let's see. However, that adds up, I think 80 yards.
86, 90?
90 yards.
Yeah.
90 yards from there just on the penalty yardage. But they always seem to be at the wrong time on like a 3rd and long, 4th and long, and helped them convert. We would have gotten off the field twice. It cost us over 200 total yards given up. It cost us 8 minutes of possession. And that is, for us, that could be 2 to 3 offensive possessions as fast as we go down and score.
Yeah, there's another stat we'll read here in a minute that just proves that too.
So that we have to be able to get off the field, and we have to settle down. And like on Friday, so when we're calm, cool, and collected, we're a very good football team. Once we settled into the game and started worrying about what we're doing in between the whistles, we were very good. We've addressed it, and we've got it fixed now. So it's going to be fixed. That will not happen again.
Yeah.
That I will guarantee. So we'll get that fixed, and then because as you go through, we players played extremely well between the whistles. Defensively, we had a couple guys have huge standout nights, and the good part is 3 seniors are on top of our productivity chart. And then with Yeshua Vaught, had 6 solos, 7 assists, had a tackle for loss. Jake Duffy had 5 solo tackles, 2 assists. He had 1 really big hit, and he had a PBU. And then the player of the night on defense, Dash Stiggin, who had probably the most important play of the game in terms of flipping the momentum. And because we just went down and scored, turn around, get a turnover, go score again, and that broke the straw in the camel's back.
Yep.
He had 3 solo, 2 assists, and then he had the big play. He knew what was coming, and he jumped the route, picked it off, and then went down and scored. Had a big stiff arm on the sideline.
Can't forget that stiff arm.
No, that was and then a couple other things that happened on that play is we do a drill called the anti-clip drill, which is actually a special teams drill where you go block, but you're not allowed to use your hands and shoulders because they'll call a penalty on it. So we teach them to run by, put their hands up, and just basically run in front of them and stop running. So they run into you. So it's not a penalty. Well, we had a couple guys do that on that play, and it actually stopped them from making the tackle. Brandon Weems was one of them. I want to say Brandon was one of the other ones on it too. This film was kind of hard to see numbers this week, so there's a couple others that did the perfect blocks on that play, helped spring it. So again, like on our productivity, everybody who was on the field gets points for scoring on defense because everybody had something to do with that, with the pressure, making them throw it quick, the blocking, the corner being over top of the deep route, forcing him to throw it underneath, the pass rush, everything is in line with that. So, but that was a good team play, and then be able to go down and convert a 2-point from there. So there was some big there. Now, one guy who really stood out up front, who hadn't really been on the stat sheet defensively, was sophomore Sean Russell. He played lights out offensively. He played lights out on defense, and he's kind of he's been a rotate guy on defense, and there for a while he just had the confidence, and he was just blowing up their guard and tackles. He had 2 tackles himself. He had 2 quarterback pressures, and he ended up having a big night defensively. And I want to say he had a couple big blocks that sprung some big runs from there. And then our linebackers had another good day. Leon Johnson was solid all night, had a quarterback pressure. He had a sack and a tackle for loss. And then Brandon Weems only had 1 solo tackle, but he had 9 assists.
Wow.
So he was around the football at all times, and we've been lining him up on that weak side. So he's chasing a lot of plays, and he's fast enough to be able to do it, and that puts him, because he's very good at chasing plays now.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good spot for him. So, and then secondary-wise, Thomas Darnell had a good night defensively, so it was good to see all that. And then on offense, that was one of the craziest stats I've seen in a while. We had 28 total plays.
That was the stat I was alluding to earlier. 28 total plays. I've mentioned in other interviews that with Cumberland Gap, you need to take care of the ball. The turnovers are a huge key to every Cumberland Gap game, because the amount of possessions and the amount of plays you have drastically get lowered. And it showed in this game. 28 total plays is something that you rarely ever hear. Some teams have that by halftime in some games.
Yes.
You had that in a full entire game.
Well, we've had that at halftime.
Yes.
In fact, there's been a couple games we've had that in the quarter.
Yeah.
But we had 28 plays for 250 yards at almost 9 yards per play. That's pretty daggone good.
Yeah.
We did not have any turnovers, which was we were very efficient on offense. And rushing totals, we had 20 rush for 193 yards. Pretty good night considering we didn't have a whole lot of snaps. And, of course, we had a 2-headed monster in the backfield with Yeshua and Darnell. Darnell really stepped up this game running the ball, which we had kind of talked about earlier. We were needing an extra hat in the box to be successful. And in order to do that, is to run the quarterback, either by a run read, or just straight called quarterback run. And he did a great job, and he kept popping off 17, 14, 12, 9-yard runs just at a time. And then he broke the one for 37 yards, and we just ran regular quarterback power. Yeshua did a great job of kicking it out. Darnell reads it, and anytime anybody cuts something back on power, it's a touchdown.
Yeah.
So that's what we teach, because power is a bang or bounce play. So you either bang it in for 4 to 5 yards, you can bounce it for like a 15 to 20-yard gain. But if you cut it back, you are either getting killed or you're scoring a touchdown. And that's kind of how we've taught our power. So he cut it all the way back, and because teams will see the pull, they'll go over the top, and then we cut back underneath. We don't necessarily teach them to do that. It's just kind of instinct.
Yeah.
And he saw it and took it to the house, and that was big, because that put us up
40 to 13.
40 to 13 from there. But that was a good night for him, and they both each had a rushing touchdown, and then Thomas was very efficient throwing the ball. I think his official stat line was 5 of 8, because we had a bunch of penalties on a lot of other throws.
And I think one thing I thought about whenever you sent me that stat line were the 3 incompletions drops.
Yes.
They were all 3 right there that hit the receiver's hand. So they weren't out in front. They weren't broken up. They were right there. So without those flags, if those catches are called, then you have a perfect 8 for 8 stat line.
Yep. If he catches balls now, there's a couple others that were either penalties on us.
Yeah.
I think there was a holding somewhere. There was a couple other defensive penalties on some of those passes, which, again, I thought all the balls were beautifully thrown. And then, but we got 2 really big ones in terms of Yeshua's big catch on 4th down. We ran a wheel route out of the backfield.
Beautiful wheel route.
Beautiful throw over top of the corner, caught for a touchdown. And then, of course, Kelson. And one thing, if you watch that film, Duffy, on that because we've been throwing screen to Duffy, and then he yelled Thomas's name and like waved his hands up in the air like Thomas, Thomas, Thomas. Well, all their defense ran right to Duffy, and here comes Kelson running down by himself and caught for
nobody near him.
His first high school touchdown.
That's awesome.
So it was pretty exciting to see that. And then special teams wise, we had a couple guys who really have some standout games. It's nice to be able to have some backups really step up. Mason Kinzer had a good night on kickoff, made a bunch of tackles. And it was good to see him because he's not a starter on offense or defense. So seeing guys like that be able to step up from there. And, of course, having another kickoff return for a touchdown.
What a way to start a game. No better way to start a game.
No doubt. And, at some point, they're going to stop kicking it deep.
Yeah.
So it's good. I would not kick it to 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't either personally.
And I wouldn't
keep doing it.
I wouldn't kick to 13 or 9 either.
That's what I was about to say. Who do you go to after 1, 9 or 13?
Yeah, because 9 will return it for a touchdown.
Yep.
13 will return it for a touchdown. So it's kind of a three-headed monster there on kickoff return. And the sad part is we're pretty good at it, but we don't want to have to do it very often.
Yeah.
Really pleased in that regards. Another good kicker performance by Juan Soto, and he kicked ball well, and I'm hoping we've practiced field goal for a couple weeks now, so I'm hoping to come out in some PAT this week and some field goals, so kind of excited about that, trying to ease them into American football.
It's hard to do that all at once.
Yes.
I would imagine for him it's even tougher to do because this is a whole new different sport. It's just a whole new different everything for him, but he seems like he's adjusting well.
Yeah, he's enjoying it. He's adjusting. I do laugh sometimes when the officials try to tell him stuff. I'm like,
I witnessed that for the first time. They placed the ball on the 30-yard line. He was like, kicker, 35, and you were like, he doesn't speak English.
Move the ball for him, please.
Yeah.
Or I will have to go out there and move it for him. But it was overall, it was a good night, especially good second half. And the big thing is we talk about being battle-tested. Cumberland Gap came out and hit us in the mouth defensively, and we stood tall, and we faced adversity and overcame it. So I was real pleased to be able to see that. In fact, on their second touchdown, it's clear as day on film. We forced a fumble.
Can you confirm?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The video I told you I had, I don't remember the player for you all, but he stepped right in front as the ball came out.
Oh, I've got film.
And then the next frame, the ball was on the ground, and I couldn't tell where the knee was, where the ball was.
He was standing straight up and down. Ball was knocked out. We had a fumble. We had it recovered. So that's a stop right there.
Yeah.
But that's not how it played out. So that's the thing. We don't have instant replay in high school. So we got to live with the results. But I was pleased, like we're making plays even if it doesn't count. And they stood tall. And again, we forced them to snap it 4 times inside the 10-yard line. So that's another thing. It wasn't just like, okay, we got the red zone, give up touchdowns. Like, no, it got down to like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And they had to scheme something up to be able to get in the end zone right there. And they caught us in a bad personnel adjustment, which forced us to pull somebody out who was supposed to hit the play right in the mouth. And they schemed it up, and that's part of the chess match of football. And but like I said, I think our kids got to stop, and they got a fumble there, whether not it was called or not.
Yeah. Do you think the officials would throw me out of a game if I walked up to them and showed them a replay that I had on my phone that
they would. I
kind of shows that it's a fumble, like concrete evidence? I've thought of that before. Like, I wonder if I pull an official over and show them, like, hey,
we have instant replay on the sideline, and I have been told I'll be thrown out of the game if I pulled it out.
Okay. I wasn't tempted to do so.
I have threatened to do that before, and they looked at me and said, "Coach, don't even try." I said, yes, sir.
But great win overall, 3rd straight win now. First time since 2012 that you've put together a winning streak of 3 or more. 250 total yards on the night. We talked about Thomas having a great 5 for 8, almost perfect night with 57 yards. 2 touchdowns, 1 to Yeshua, 1 to Kelson Estep, 8 rushes, 96 yards and a touchdown. Yeshua, another great night, 9 rushes, 97 yards, a touchdown. Had that big 53-yard run that put you down to the 10-yard line, which then led to his 10-yard touchdown on that little wheel route when he beat his defender inside. Had the touchdown there. So, great overall night. I mean, I'm still impressed that you've opened up the game twice this year with a kickoff return touchdown from Brandon Weems. I mean, it's electric.
I hope it continues.
I hope it does too. That's a great way to start a game. And I've mentioned it before. I don't know if I've mentioned it on here, but a lot of times after a scoring play, a lot of times when the play's over, I have to write down in my notes what happened. I have to tweet the score, the video, and everything. Sometimes, depending on how long that video is, how the cell service is in that area, it takes a while. So sometimes I don't record kickoffs. With your team, I've learned that I have to record kickoffs because the Cumberland Gap game last year that you all played here, I think one of the Weems had a punt return touchdown in that game, and I didn't get that one because, again, special teams, you don't expect it to happen often, but I've learned my lesson through that game, and I definitely am happy that I was able to get that one this game because he started the game with an electric touchdown, and you could just see how happy everybody was on the sidelines.
It tends to be huge, especially when scoring, and we put a big emphasis on it, because it can win or lose ball games. Because sometimes you might be even in offense and defense, and then if you have the advantage on special teams, you can win a ball game that way. So it's definitely good to be explosive on special teams.
We talked about it too, I think, in the post-game interview where special teams and defense not necessarily won you the game, but they kind of did win you the game because you had a touchdown in each of those. You had the touchdown from Brandon that went 75 yards to open up the game. Yeshua had that 5-yard rushing touchdown after that, which put you up 14-0. And that's when you guys kind of got battle-tested a little bit because I don't have the exact time marks or time stamps in my notes right here, but I wrote about it in the article. I think that they had the ball for 16 minutes and some change.
16 minutes and 8 seconds out of the last 18 minutes.
That's insane. The last quarter and a half of the first half, they had it for 16 of the 18 minutes. And they go down, score both touchdowns. You're up by 1 going into the half. They come out second half. They almost threaten to score again. They're right outside the red zone. And that's one thing we hadn't mentioned this interview. Great turnover by Brandon Weems. High snap over his head. He flew back there to the backfield and recovered it. And I would say that Dash's pick six, that next drive after that, was the game changer right there.
Because we went down and scored on the turnover, and then the next series, Dash has his pick six, and that put us up by 2 scores, and that's kind of what turned the game wide open.
And then after that, I don't think they really had any answer on offense. That's when Kelson had his 47-yard touchdown, which was his first touchdown. Again, another either turnover on downs or a punt by them led to Thomas's 37-yard touchdown the very next play. And after that, it was pretty much put to rest.
They went for it on 4th down. We got the ball on 37. And truthfully, we were trying to milk the clock at that point. Because,
but one play later, he's in the end zone.
The first play, he takes in the end zone. So it's like,
I think I remember you mentioning that to him, too, as soon as he came over there. You told him, like, hey, I wanted to milk the clock right there.
Yeah, I was trying to
trying
to milk it, but
when the lane's open, take it.
Yep, take it. I never tell the kids we're milking the clock. I'm just saying, hey, we did have a conversation on the sideline on offense about keeping the ball in bounds, about if we have an outside run, right, make sure to stay in bounds so that way the clock is running. And then even last couple drives, we do our clock 4-minute offense where he's waiting until the official gives his signal, starts counting down, and then we start our cadence. So that way we're using as much clock as possible.
And then you were still able to milk the clock at the end because the next play they score kickoff return touchdown also.
Yep.
And then you got the ball right back. So in the end, you were able to milk the clock back how you wanted to. You just had to get one more score up there first before that happened, which Thomas perfected over to the left pylon. A great run by him. Great game all around. I don't know if there's anything else we've had to mention, but with a game like Friday night, I always feel like I'm forgetting something because there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was a lot. I will mention the kid that was injured on Friday. He is expected to recover. He is being watched over at UT Medical right now, but things were looking pretty grim there for a little while. But all the doctors and everybody who attended to him did a great job, and I will say it was one of the more gruesome injuries I've ever seen, so I'm glad the kid is going to be fine. So it was a little scary moment there.
It's been scary a few times throughout this season because that's one thing I've talked about. This year has been more injury ridden than I think I've ever seen so far, and we're only 5 weeks in now, and that's unfortunately something that you're never going to avoid in sports and in football is injuries like that. But too often this year so far, It seemed that we've had to pull ambulances onto the fields or flown helicopters in to fly kids out.
Yeah, it's been a little crazy this year, but football is a violent sport. It's not a contact sport; it's a collision sport.
It really is,
and that's why we spend as much time as we do about tackling. We teach to keep our head out of our work. That our kids hear me say that 14,000 times during practice when we tackle. So keeping our head out of our work, and there's a reason we do that. And shoulder tackle, hawk tackle, rugby style tackle, so that way they can be safe. And sometimes, like the kid on Friday, that was a freak accident. So that wasn't even a spinal. That was a leg injury. So, but I'm glad the kid's gonna be all right.
I am too. That was a very scary situation, nonetheless. But one thing that I mentioned to you after the game that I was hesitant to mention to you, but as a fan and as an outside rider, it's hard for me not to already think about that. But you go ahead and win the game, you win 3 straight. I'm already looking forward to, like, hey, can they win 4 straight? Of course, you told me, like, hey, I'm going to celebrate this win. I'm going to celebrate the weekend, and then we're going to go into Monday thinking about Hancock County. I'm looking forward to it now. It's officially Tuesday, so I know you've already had a day of practice in. You've already scouted. You've already done your film. So you've definitely looked forward to it now. Now we can talk about it.
We've already celebrated. We're moving on to Hancock County.
We can finally talk about the potential of it being 4 in a row now, but before we do that, we need to go ahead and get a break in first. So we'll get a word from our sponsors in. Stay tuned, and we'll preview that game against Hancock County this upcoming Friday here on the Tundra, here on Grassroots Media.
For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
Baileyton Drug Company services the surrounding communities of Baileyton with excellent patient care using a full-line pharmacy, over-the-counter selections, and a convenient drive-thru. When you visit us, you are treated as a neighbor, not a number. It's not just our slogan, but our culture. We're investing in our patients, local schools, and community. For over 5 years now, we have established ourselves as an independently family-run pharmacy that isn't driven by corporate goals. We are driven by what is best for your overall health and wellness. We're conveniently located so you don't have to make the drive. Prescription drugs are just the tip of the iceberg. We also offer natural remedies, essential oils, at-home medical needs such as walkers, rollators, bath accessories, as well as wound care products. And coming soon, basic urgent care services. What makes us better than other drugstores out there? When you frequent Baileyton Drug, you will receive professional, courteous, and friendly service that goes above and beyond any other pharmacy in the area. Remember, you're a neighbor, not a number.
My name is Robert Starnes. I'm a lifelong resident of North Greene County, where I currently reside here with my wife and 3 children. I was a barber in Greenville for the last 6 years, but I have recently changed locations to my new shop in Baileyton. It's at 285 Mortis Hollow Lane, Afton. I'm also a proud supporter of North Greene Athletics. Come see me for all of your men and boys grooming needs. Go Huskies!
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson. So we're looking for 4 in a row now. I'm excited about it. I don't know if you are.
We're focused on being 1-0 this week.
Okay, I like the coach speak that you're throwing at me here. But you've got Hancock County. You've got another key Region 1 1A matchup. Luckily, you get it here at home this time instead of traveling on the road like you did with Jellicoe for your first win within the region. So you went up there to Sneedville, picked up a gutsy win last year. Wasn't pretty last year, looking to make it pretty this year here at home. What can you tell us so far about Hancock County and what to expect?
They play hard. I got a couple players who can hurt you. I don't have an official roster, so I don't know the kids' names, but number 7, they move him around a lot, quarterback, tailback, receiver, and they try to get him the ball. They try to get the ball on the edge, and they can hurt you a little bit. They hurt Cloudland. Get to the edge, everybody gets some big runs out of that, and but they've had a hard time sustaining drives and a lot of self-imposed stuff. They have the ability to move the ball and go down and score, but a lot of self-imposed stuff. And and then defensively, they kind of line up everywhere. They're base 4-4, cover 3, man coverage. They plug linebackers all over the place. I don't know necessarily if it's just linebacker, if it's called, or whether the kids have freedom to be able to kind of choose when they decide to come or not. So we've got to be ready to protect in the pass game. And these type of teams, we can have a big day in RPO because we can just make them wrong every time. So if they want to plug, we'll throw it behind them. If they want to sit back and cover, we'll hand the ball off. So it could be one of those type of games for us where we kind of get back to basics because some of the man coverage stuff takes us out of that. Which is what we've seen the past couple of weeks. But when the quarterback plays as well as he has the past couple of weeks, it don't matter.
Yeah.
Looking to have another big game out of Darnell this week. We'll be excited to rev up the run game, especially because we're going to be kind of seeing a run favorable box this week. Excited about that, kind of get established run game and really get our backs rolling this week, and then force them to flood the box and then get the ball out in space. Pretty simple game plan in terms of that. Force them to line up to our unbalanced stuff. And then make their players think. I don't think it's my job to confuse their coaches. My job to confuse their players.
Yeah.
We have a quarterback who can do that. So definitely look forward to that. And then take our advantages in special teams where we can. They kick the ball a little bit. So I doubt they will kick the ball deep if they've watched anything. So, but if they do, we'll be ready for it.
Absolutely. You're getting good at these interviews. You're in mid-season form with these interviews. I ask you the opening question, and you go ahead and answer the second and third questions that I usually ask. So you're getting good at this.
We've been doing this for 4 years. So
we have. So usually, I'll admit, I'm always rusty when I begin these interviews again because I take so much time off from them. And football questions are always different than basketball, baseball, and softball questions. So it takes me a minute to get adjusted to everything, but it seems like it takes you even less of time to get adjusted because you're bang, bang, bang. I asked the first question, you're already answering what the offense and defense is going to look like.
Well, a lot of it I've watched through these games so much that I've already played out the game in my head about 3 or 4 times already about, hey, this is what we're going to do if they do this. This is what we should do on the first drive. I've already played out the game multiple times, so that's the joys of being a football coach. Is more so than any other sport. Like there's a chess component to it where you're putting chess pieces on a board, and coaches can manipulate it a little bit more than other sports. So you're kind of having to play it out and kind of figuring out. And then the big thing is better coaches make better adjustments during games. So I try to play out the game as much as possible, so that way I'm kind of prepared for what if they do stop this, then what's our answer? So kind of having it's a if-then response. If they do this, then we do this. So kind of have all those answers ahead of time because it's nice and easy when we're sitting down. Bullets aren't flying, and we're kind of able to make some adjustments in the meeting room, not necessarily out on the field. So we try to do as much as possible with the film we have. It's hard early in the season to do it because you don't have any film.
Now we're about to the point where you've got a little bit.
We've got some film.
Yeah.
So we're able to kind of do that a little bit.
It goes back to the conversation we had earlier in the year where it's not just 3 hours on Friday night. You've got hours and hours and hours and hours that you put in every other day of the week too, and it all just leads to Friday night in the end.
Yep, it does. And this week is kind of hard because none of the teams we have film run our formations. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to okay, if they move this guy, are they actually going to move their guy out? So it's that can be difficult when the films don't really match up because Claiborne don't run the same offense we do. Cloudland definitely doesn't run the same offense we do. And then so we're having to go back and try to find games that we can use for that.
It all leads to Friday night, and it all leads to a grassroots interview on Tuesday.
Yes, always.
And at the end of every grassroots interview, you've got 3 keys to the game that you need to carry out every Friday night in order to get a win. This week, you take on Hancock County at home on the Tundra in another Region 1-1A matchup. What are the 3 keys?
Well, playmakers got to make plays.
They did last week.
They did. We got to have a great effort. We have to have great tackling.
All 3 the same.
All 3 the same.
Are they ever going to change?
Probably not.
Don't expect them to ever change.
Nope.
But go out there Friday night. Love to talk about a win next week. Talk about 4 in a row here on your show.
We're going to try to go 1-0 this week.
Absolutely. Coach, appreciate you talking to me once again. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show presented by Starnes Barber. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.